morning, and thank you all for being with us for our VIP Listen and Learn event. Today, we have the privilege of listening to Kimberly and Ricardo Frost, who will be discussing cybersecurity plans and how they can protect your business from cybersecurity intruders. Kimberly Frost is the CEO and president of RFK Solutionz Corporation, founded on May 2nd, 2012. She's a veteran of the United States Navy who proudly served 20 years of honorable service as an Information Technology Chief Petty Officer. She is currently serving on the State of Virginia JCOTS, the Data Protection and Privacy Advisory Committee, and on the board of Old Dominion University's Cybersecurity Program. Her leadership was instrumental to the company and was awarded, among additional recognitions, the 2019 Small Business of the Year Award for Chesapeake, U.S. Business News Cybersecurity SME of the Year, and Trailblazer of the Year for ACHI Magazine. In 2017, she established RFK Outreach, a 501c3 organization that allows her and her family to focus their volunteer efforts to assisting veterans, business owners, and the youth in cyber awareness. She is most proud of their yearly Community Day and Youth Cyber Academy. Kimberly is the wife of Ricardo Frost and celebrating over 20 years of marriage. Both of their children work full-time in their business. So real quick, just a few housekeeping items. Before we start, please take a note of a few things. At the top of the chat, there are a few links for the Innovation Center, which include our social media handle, website, and email address. Also, there's a link to a post-event survey that we would like for you to fill out at the conclusion of the presentation today. I will also place the contact information for our guest speakers in the chat as well. Lastly, please remember to mute your mics, and if you have any questions, please put them in the chat at any time, and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, please welcome Kimberly and Ricardo Frost.
Good morning, everyone. Well, hello. I should say good afternoon from Venice, Italy. Thank you all so much for having Ricardo and I here today.
Thank you.
We greatly appreciate this opportunity to share, take time out to share and just have a discussion with you. We just want to share some things that's happening in our community, cybersecurity, and how it can affect your businesses and you as entrepreneurs as well. So I'm going to share my slide and we'll get started from there. Okay, sorry about that. Not sure why I went back to the end. All righty. Again, I am Kimberly Frost, president of RFK, and this is my wonderful husband, Ricardo Frost. We are partners in cyber. So he's actually just running in. You see him pop in the chair because we're over here actually doing cybersecurity training for the United States Air Force over in Vienna at this time. I was sharing with our host, Ms. Richardson, that this is normally our busiest time of the year for the business when it comes to cybersecurity because we train the federal government in cyber. And so having this opportunity to still be able to share with you all while we're here was great. I wasn't sure how it was going to work out, but I just believed that it would work, and it did. So our connection seems to be nice and steady. So from there, again, Ricardo has been, he was not supposed to be here today. It was just supposed to be me. But when we decided we were here together in Italy, I decided to just ask him to participate in this event with me. And so he didn't get a great introduction. Well, I won't say not a great introduction, but I didn't see his bio in. But he did do 20 years in the military as I did, and he's a cybersecurity expert as well. He's graduated from, what's your colleges?
HCPI University with an associate's degree in cybersecurity network, and also from DeVry University with a bachelor's degree in technical management with a concentration in security.
Yes. So he's been, we've been partners in this for the last 9 years. We started a business 9 years ago. So we'll just go ahead and get started here. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, let's see if I can move this over so I can see everything. In the last 10 years, and I put this minority study here because I am speaking to Norfolk State University.
Norfolk State University, right?
Don't get me started with Norfolk State. Over the last 10 years, minority business entrepreneurs accounted for more than 50% of the 2 million new businesses started in the United States and created 4.7 million jobs. There are now more than 4 million minority-owned companies in the United States with annual sales totaling close to $700 billion. That's the study that was performed by the Senate Small Business Committee. And I'm happy to say that Ricardo and I are amongst that 50% over the last 10 years, because like we said before, that we've been in business for the last 9 years, and we have employees as well. And we've done pretty well working with the federal government in regards to creating more jobs for people and bringing in revenue. So we're excited about the fact that minorities are starting businesses, and for us to do more than 50% of the businesses that have started in the last 10 years, I think we should give ourselves a hand for that all in itself. Yes. So join me in a little clap here. I know I can't see anyone, but I think I've gotten used to that here over COVID, speaking to no face. But yes, let's give ourselves a hand for that. So yes, and if you have not started a business, this is definitely the season to get it started if you have not as an entrepreneur. Yes. So building your business, that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, your cybersecurity part of building a business. Sometimes Ricardo and I were talking about, normally when people are starting to build their business, there are 5 things that they think about when they're starting their business off. That's, I got to create my business plan. Well, this is the things they should be thinking about anyway. I need to create a business plan. We're learning here now. We did a mastermind class of about 20 businesses here recently, and several of them had not done a business plan. And we're learning from, actually, I think she's on here, Dr. Rhonda, that you don't even have to have a business plan anymore. There's another avenue that you can take instead of a business plan, but they didn't have either of the avenues in place. But creating a business plan is definitely something we wanted to have. And then getting your business name, ensuring that the state of Virginia or the state that you're in has an eligible business name for you to utilize. Your employee EIN number, you're from the IRS, most definitely want to have that when you're starting business, because you don't want to have business going and the IRS not getting their money, or you'll be shutting down your business quickly. And your DUNS number, you want to make sure the Dun and Bradshaw number is you have a registration number so you can keep up with your credit when it comes to your business. Having business credit is paramount nowadays, especially if you want any kind of financing, as it says here in securing financing, the 5th thing that you should be thinking about. So a lot of times we have financing we talk about purchasing items, purchasing equipment, whatever it is, the service you're going to be offering. I want to make sure that I have everything in that area that I need to start my business. But the majority of the time, there's one other area that we should be thinking about that's missing. And can anyone tell me what that may be? I'll tell you at this moment. There's an objective that used to be There's an objective that used to be a last thought, but has now been moved to the top of the list regarding developing a strong and secure business. And what is that objective today? Having a well-crafted cybersecurity plan in place to protect your business from cybersecurity intruders. So we kind of spoke about those 5 things that most people do to start their businesses: the business plan, securing financing, the different things that we just had listed there, but they don't think about cybersecurity. We're finding that out with the majority of corporate America businesses. And as you can tell on the news already, and we'll get to that a little later, that no one is thinking about the cybersecurity side of what do I need to do to protect my business? Oh, I don't work with cybersecurity. I don't work with computers. I was just speaking with the young lady. I may make T-shirts. We have a lady we work with that makes T-shirts. So I don't need to know anything about cybersecurity. But if you're taking money or you're processing Visa cards and different things, yes, you definitely need to make sure that your business is skilled and knowledgeable in cybersecurity. We were talking about that business plan here, and normally within the business plan, you have your executive summary, which is the overview of your business concept. And then you go down into talking about your business description and the vision. What are you planning to do in your business? Laying it out in the business plan. You want to, break it out paragraph by paragraph on what it is that you plan to do and the vision that you're going to have with that business. Marketing and sales strategies. A lot of banks still want to see this. I know some people say that business plans are obsolete, but the banks that I'm dealing with, they still want to know, what are you doing? What are your plans? What is your growth plan? What are you planning on doing in the future? Who is your marketing and what's your marketing and sales strategy? Who are your competitors in the area? They still want to know those things, and they ask us to pull out that business plan so they can read it, so they can find that information out. They want a description of the products you're going to be selling. If your business isn't serving the people, then you're probably not going to be in business too long. All businesses should be offering a service to someone in order to be in business. That's what it actually is. And then you have your organization and management, the hiring process. Small businesses, we don't have a lot of the money to hire 50 to 150 people like some companies. I'm speaking today probably to folks that may have smaller businesses, 10 or less, 20 or less. And it's very difficult for us to hire employees that manage cybersecurity alone. And then it's difficult for you to hire another company as a third party to manage your cybersecurity. So at this time, these are the companies that are struggling when it comes to identifying and creating that cybersecurity plan. So I asked what was missing from business plans. That's what's missing, the cybersecurity plan. It's not very often do you see in the creation of business plans where someone has taken the time out to create their cybersecurity plan in the building of their business. Not too many are doing it. What am I going to do if my visa system gets compromised, or the people that I'm utilizing, if their visa system got compromised? What am I going to do to take care of that? Those are the things that you need to really think about in your cybersecurity plan. And we're going to break that down a little bit more here momentarily. Then you want to go into financial management. That's something that's also in your business plan. In your appendices, of course. That's your diagram of your building. Nowadays, hey, we're in COVID, so we're shifting, and you don't have to have the big buildings as you used to, but you still should have your plans, things laid out to where you're working from somewhere. And so if you're working from home, those things need to be laid out as to how you plan to work from your home establishment. Cybersecurity plans have been omitted from the foundational plans of business development. And yes, you sure can.
Yeah, so I was going to add to what Kimberly was saying. Even in your business plan, if that's something that you're still creating and implementing for whoever that may need it, think about all the intricate details that are involved in your business plan. That should also be something that you look at as a place that it needs to be protected. So cybersecurity and just maintaining the things that you have available to you, or maintaining the things that you want to present to other organizations or people, that information could be critical information that malicious insiders, what they call today threat actors, could take advantage of and use against you as a vulnerability.
Yes. Thank you, sweetie. So as I was saying there, that cybersecurity plan is being omitted from business plans. You probably should start adding that information into your business plan. And if you don't know how, there are a million places you can go. NSU
all types of references.
Yes, has a major cybersecurity department. Actually, yes. You probably can go and just sit down with some of the instructors or a couple of the students that have been there in the fourth year, may be able to give you a little bit more information. Even some of the employees that are running the cyber center over there, department, could help you out in that area, and probably wouldn't have to pay anything to make that happen. There are a lot of resources out there and people that are willing, like RFK Solutionz. We charge the government for their money, so we try to help other small businesses, normally at no cost or the cost of materials, to help them with their business when it comes to cyber. Keeping sensitive documents safe. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So keeping sensitive documents safe. I kind of already started that, so it kind of alluded to what I was talking about when it comes to like your business plan. That's a sensitive document that has sensitive information about your organization. Your financial information is within that business plan. So those are things that you want to definitely make sure you have protected and safe. There are a lot of different options that you can utilize in order to protect your documents, to include, if you want to use physical protection, you have a file cabinet that you want to ensure has some type of locking mechanism. And then on top of that, wherever you keep these sensitive documents, whatever that space is, you want to make sure that that door or that area has some form of locking system in place. And we're talking from a physical perspective. Now, if that's the antiquated way, now, if you're doing more 21st century types of storage, you want to think about databases and how those databases can be protected. Many database operations and many database systems have security implemented or can be implemented. You have applications that you can use to protect those databases. Some of the critical information that you have within these systems could be everything from personal identifiable information, which is, again, like Kimberly kind of alluded to, you may be processing even though you sell t-shirts or you cut hair, you're still processing your customers' personal financial information, to include their credit card information, to include, a lot of times in order to process that stuff, you need their business addresses or certain types of addresses and phone numbers. All of that stuff is information that hackers and attackers can use to really cause and wreak havoc on your organization and on your business. A lot of that information is sold in areas that you would never see, called the dark web. Hackers know hackers that have the ability to have access to this dark web. I know people may think that it's a rumor, but it's truly a reality. And they sell everything on the dark web. You'll be surprised at the types of things that you may come across within the dark web. But that's the area where a lot of this information is distributed. And so you definitely need to be protected. When it comes to your receptionist, if you do have a receptionist within your organization, to go to that physical attribute again, they got a policy called the clean desk policy, and it's really simple. You basically want to train your receptionist to ensure that they don't have sensitive documents just lying around on their desk. Sensitive documents that includes everything for your financial information, for people's personal information. You don't want that just lying around for anybody to just walk by and just have an opportunity to kind of take a glance at what may be on these documents. So you definitely want to make sure that you have, last but not least, strong passwords for anything that you use, especially when it comes to your documents and your digital documents. So you're having strong passwords and also backups. Backups. I know it might be a bad word nowadays, and we know we have cloud implementation. For a lot of these backups, people just say, well, I'm gonna back my stuff up to the cloud. And that's fine, that's good. But it's always good to have a secondary. What if the cloud provider that you're using goes out of business? Or what if they arbitrarily lose your information? Not saying that it can happen, but it's always a possibility. So those are the things that I think about when I think about sensitive documentations, whether it's physical or digital, being kept safe and protected.
And one thing you spoke about was that personal identification information, the PII. We think some of the simplest things that we overlook and have available, that our clients, that our customers, their name and their phone number. I mean, we're going to get on the next slide, we're going to get to some social engineering. But just think about the elderly right now that are getting phone calls. Right. Someone could walk up to your counter, just like at the nail salon shop or the hair salon. You have them signing in on the paper when you go to the nail salon. They can take their camera out and just take a quick picture of that list. They have your name and your phone number, the name and phone number of that individual. So now that individual is going home and they're calling the elderly, and they're telling them their social security, social security number is out, or your bank account information, something's happening to it. This is where we as business people, it's those small areas. What is this? The small foxes that ruin the vine? It's things just like that. You have a small spreadsheet on your desk with people signing in, and you're thinking, oh, what can they do with a name and a phone number?
A whole lot. They can take elderly the whole $30,000 from their savings account because they convinced them to get on the phone and transfer information. Identity theft, yes, definitely. So we're going to talk a little bit about just what we just said, some social engineering threats. You want to start on there? We'll go back and forth. And you got a few you want to hit, and Yeah.
Save me the easy ones, please.
I got you. So when it comes to social engineering, one of the primary things that a lot of people get caught up in is phishing. And it means exactly, even though it's not spelled the way that we typically know phishing to be, the opportunity or the thought process is still the same. You're trying to bait people into clicking on links most of the time to be able to get information or to be able to actually run different type of malicious software onto those systems that you may have access to. So phishing is a very, very popular type of attack, and it's a very easy attack to be able to execute because most people don't think twice about the emails that they receive. And if the hacker is really good at what they're doing, or the threat actor is really good at what they're doing, it's going to make it look even more legitimate that it came from one of your friends, or it came from your your bank, or it came from one of your colleagues or someone like that, to make it, really look official. So you definitely have to be prepared. I really just recommend to most people that you don't click on links unless you know for certain. And if that takes a phone call or something to make sure that that person or that organization sent you that email, then take the extra step to make that phone call. But normally, if I'm getting emails that have links associated with them, I'm actually taking that link. We also call it a URL, which is a Uniform Resource Locator, and placing it within the address bar and typing in that link to ensure that I'm not being pointed into the wrong direction or being affected by some type of malicious software.
Yes, and I'm happy that Ricardo brought that up about phishing and whaling, the fact that they go after CEOs and CFOs, the big kahuna, the whale. Do you think about that? We just had a recent incident with a company, small business as well, with their bank. The banker is so used to the CEO sending emails back and forth, let's transfer this amount of money somewhere, or can you wire this amount of money? And they're just used to getting that information. But the bank had policies in place where you can have the email, but you have to do a phone verification after the fact. Well, that CEO possibly, or even a bank branch manager, had been compromised. Their email had been compromised. So they received that phishing email from an individual in Florida. And guess what the bank manager did? They received an email requesting $25,000 be wired to someone in Florida from the CEO. The bank manager, so used to having communication with that CEO, transferred that $25,000 to Florida. This just happened here recently in our neck of the woods. Mm-hmm. Transferred that $25,000 to Florida, but did not pick up the phone or call to verify. And so that was a successful phishing attempt, because guess what? As soon as that $25,000 hit that account, they emptied that account and they closed that account just that fast. So there was no way for the bank to recoup that money, and the bank actually had to give the business back the money, and the branch manager was released. So she lost her job because of something simple. And why did that happen? Because small businesses, banks, corporate America, not like the military, corporate America is not providing employee training.
That's key.
That is key. Social engineering training is not happening. And something that simple, if she had been trained on a regular basis on ensuring that she verifies by phone that was the individual, and not getting so comfortable. We get familiar with people, we get familiar with processes, and that's what the hacker is waiting on. Your familiarity, when you let your guard down, and next thing you know, your bank account is empty.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the bank don't have to give it back, because they had to go back and forth and do a background investigation to figure out, was it the CEO's error or was it the bank manager's error? Because had it been the CEO error and they had been hacked, that money would have been lost for that company.
Yes.
And phishing and smishing is pretty much the same thing. Phishing is via email. Phishing is a voice, where they do it over the phone. We're all getting those calls now.
Yeah,
daily.
A lot of those robot calls.
Yes, definitely. And foreign countries calling us, telling us about our social security cards and all these different things for money.
UORS money. And
yes,
things like
definitely.
That.
So that just tells you they're getting better at their processes. And like I said earlier, I feel really bad for the elderly, because we can catch and know that they're being fraudulent. But how many elderly people? I mean, I just had a conversation with someone said her mother lost $35,000 based off of these voice and SMS text message type of transmissions.
Right. And so with the text message, like Kimberly was talking about, I actually had this happen to me. I had a text message that told me that my account had been compromised and I need to click on this link in order to get the issue resolved. Being that I had training and being that I understood what was possibly happening, I picked up the phone, called my bank, and I asked my bank, is that a process or a policy that you guys usually implement? Do you contact your customers via text to let them know that their accounts or have been compromised? The gentleman over the phone quickly told me, no, sir, that is not how we operate. And can you please give me the phone number that that particular text came from so that it can be investigated and so that people can be understood and know that that's a possible phone number that's malicious and causing malicious content. So just as easy as that. So you always have to be on guard and stay on guard, no matter what type of transmission or type of elements that you're using for communication. You definitely have to stay on guard and be alert and vigilant about the information that you share and use.
Yes, and just remember, as an entrepreneur and business owners, you are responsible, ultimately responsible for all of these cybersecurity threats that are happening. No one wants to hear that I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know that that happens.
Yes.
You as a CEO, it's your job to ensure that you have a cybersecurity expert either working at your job, in your business, or you have a consultant.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we don't want to pay that money for it. But the way our world is moving today, you have to find yourself a consultant that you can call or can come in once a quarter and do training with you or your small staff, everybody, just to make sure that they understand that these little small things happen. You can't have everyone tailgating and piggybacking in the office. We have little swipe codes when you come into our building for the students and the staff. And each student has to, or each staff member has to put their badge up so we know what time they're entering the building. There are times when tailgating there is when people come in with you. I'll swipe and you're going to come in. I come in and you come in with me. Tailgating is you don't know that person has not swiped their card and come inside with you. Piggybacking is we just came in from the smoke deck together or lunch or anywhere else and put our card up. And they say, come on, guys, you can come on in with me. And they're not being accounted for in the building as well. So these are just different social engineering threats. There are so many others out there that we have. Pre-texting, baiting, different types of malware, quid pro quo. You guys can Google a lot of these things and find out about them. But it's very important that you start familiarizing yourself with social engineering threats.
I do want to add, you said baiting, and I think this is one that's worth going into a little bit more detail about. Mm-hmm. Baiting is one that's really easy to get caught up in because what the hacker or the attacker will do is try to take advantage of our curiosity.
Yes.
Most of the time when you have baiting attacks, what happens is that the hacker or attacker will initially intentionally leave a USB drive on the ground or leave something on the ground like that. And normally in a place where it's easily noticeable. And guess what's going to happen? Most of the time, most of us will pick up that USB and out of curiosity, you're like, I wonder what's on this. Or did I lose this USB thinking that it's mine and go and plug it in. And once you plug that USB into your system, now your system has been compromised and attacked with some type of malware.
And you know, the federal government, you're not even allowed to connect USBs to the computers. But that's the difference between the US government and corporate America. Who do you see being hacked on TV all the time? Corporate America, because we allow the fact that you can bring a USB in and stick it in your computer. No kind of a scan has been done on it. And next thing you know, your network has been compromised. I hope this is making sense to everyone and that you're getting your questions together. So then we have different potential threats that are out there. Let me just get my little notes here, make sure I stay on track and time. So we have ransomware. That right there, most of you probably have heard a lot about here lately. Ransomware, then we have zero trust, distributed denial of service, privacy, governance, and supply chain. And you're all probably looking at this like, I have no idea what most of you are except for ransomware. Well, this is what we're speaking about when we say, please start training, having training monthly or quarterly, with your staff so that they become familiar with this terminology and they're not surprised when they hear those words. You want to tell a little bit of Ricardo?
Absolutely. I love to talk about ransomware. When I saw it, I had a little bit of a smile on my face because I saw how it affected us in our region. The colonial pipeline system that happened, it's been about maybe 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. Y'all remember where everybody was scrambling, running around Virginia trying to find a gas station to get gas? Well, the end result of that is what we had happening, but what caused that was a ransomware attack against the colonial pipeline. I think they're out of Ohio, that supports and supplies a lot of the gas for our local area. What had happened was they had antiquated equipment, and that hackers and attackers were able to exploit certain vulnerabilities that they had with this older type of equipment that didn't have any new security updates. And they actually took encryption and encrypted their data. So one of the things that happens with ransomware, one of the more popular types of methodologies is that the hackers would take your data and encrypt it with an encryption key that only they could give you the key to open that data with. And so if you don't have the time, and normally it's at a time limit. So if you don't have the time to pay that data or pay that ransom, they're going to encrypt your data and you no longer have access to it. Now, they're not stupid. They typically attack systems that they know are critical for an organization, whether that be medical systems, whether that be pipeline systems, but it's something that they know that if they have that stuff shut down for a long amount of time, that it's going to affect people in a major way. So ransomware attacks are very prominent, very popular, and they're very serious.
And I just want to say, a lot of times we think of, like Ricardo said, these major systems that are out there. Oh, that's what we're worrying about, when it comes to ransomware. But little old me received a ransomware threat as well. They told me they had all my information from my cell phone. And if I didn't send a certain amount of money, I think it was like $1,500. So like I said, little old me, they didn't want a whole lot from me. But if I didn't send $1,500, they were going to be releasing pictures that they say they found of me in a compromising way, which I knew wasn't the case. And they were going to post them all over the internet for me. And so I just decided not to even respond. I decided to take that chance, not to respond to them and to say whatever. I prayed and I said, Lord, if you want it to be done, it'll happen. So I wasn't sending them the $1,500, and that was that. And I sent that information actually to our cybersecurity force so that they can go and do their tracking and see what they were able to find when it came to that. But don't think that just because you have a small business, it's just 10 of us. We are 10 to 15 is our staff range. They asked me for $1,500 the first time. That probably received more. I just sent it to my junk mail. But there's going to be a day when you may be so important, or you may be doing something that they decide they want a little ransom from you. So just make sure you're familiar with that.
And I'm glad that you said that. The threat actors that do these types of attacks, they know basically what your financial capabilities are. So they're not going to come to a smaller company like us looking for us to pay them $10 million. They know that we don't have the ability or the capability to pay something like that right now. But they do know that you have the ability to pay $10,000 or maybe $5,000, and the expectation is that they know that you can pay it, so that they take that system for ransom to see and make sure that you do pay it.
Yes, and then we have zero trust here. Most people are talking about this nowadays, where they say trust nothing, verify everything. That's it. That's exactly where the government is going. Corporate America is going.
Extensive monitoring. Yeah.
They're not zero trust. We trust nothing when it comes to cybersecurity. Nothing. Verify it all. There's nothing else to that. Denial, DDoS. Distributed denial of service. That's when the hackers decide that they want to attack your computer. What are you working from? Where are you taking all your orders from? The people that are registering, we do training. So everyone that's registering, we found their centralized database. We're going to go after that computer. That's when they decide to take a whole 50 box fake computers, and they come and send a lot of attack. They attack that one computer so they can shut it down. So they'll try to overload. So it's the processes. If you go to Task Manager, you see your processes running. Their goal is to max out that processor so it kills that computer, and you're not able to work.
Right.
So there are people that spend time, and you guys are probably thinking, man, there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of crazy stuff. No, they're your kids that are sitting in the basement with nothing to do. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry to say that, but our children are normally the hackers. It's crazy, but that's the case. There are some adults that are still out there with nothing to do, but the 16 and 17, 18-year-olds, am I telling the truth, Ricardo?
Yeah, a lot of that is true. You got a lot of kids that's playing around with these devices, and you're like, oh, well, they're not in my, they're not bothering me. They seem to be doing something productive. They're on the computers, but you never know what they be having access to or what they're doing. To kind of add to what Kimberly was saying about this distributed denial of service attack is that when she talks about bots, basically that's part of it's a second part of the initial attack. The initial attack is where the hacker sends some type of random Trojan horse. Basically what a Trojan horse is, or a rat, which is a remote access Trojan. It makes a system or application look like, or as we call them, apps, look like it's something like a video game or something that you can download. It is no harm, no foul. It looks very benign. But behind that application is actually malicious software that's used to take over your system and create backdoors.
Yes.
And from those backdoors, which is a form of authorization to gain access to your system now becomes a part of a bot. It's transformed into a bot or a zombie. Then they become part of a botnet. That hacker or attacker has malicious scripts on that botnet that controls your system, and you don't even know it. So you could be working on your system and not know that your computer or your laptop or whatever it is that you're working on are part of a botnet that's performing a more sinister type of attack behind the scenes.
And that's why it would be good to have those if you don't have enough, funding to have someone working with you in your business, having a consultant or someone that's running scans on their computer weekly to ensure that they're checking for these type of things, monitoring your network, is definitely something you want to look into. Trying to set money aside for. That's good. That was good. That was good.
Yeah,
supply chain, you want to touch on that a little bit, Ricardo?
Sure. Supply chain is really easy. I mean, I won't say easy, but you got to understand that we're in business. Everybody needs somebody. That's how I kind of look at that. We're not the experts in everything that we do. So with the supply chain, basically, you're storing data in their systems, just like your customers storing data in your systems. So if your supply chain is affected by someone going in and breaking into their, financial devices or things like that, that can affect you as well.
Okay. And then the last two here, privacy and governance. Privacy is just that. You as the business owner, everybody says we have the Second Amendment, we have this amendment, I can do what I want, I have privacy. As a business owner, you have the right to ensure, and you're obligated to let your staff know that you have a level of expected privacy. When you put your hands on my computers, there should be a banner or something they've signed when you've hired them to say your privacy is subject to monitoring. So yes, you have some privacy, but if I suspect that you may be doing something that's not correct, you may be selling customers information, you may be watching Netflix all day at the office, I have the right to scan all of those things because this is my business. These are my computers and you're on my network. But you as a business owner, you as an entrepreneur, it is your job to ensure that your employees know this. And I guarantee you, if you don't make sure they sign something in writing, they'll swear that they've never heard it. So those are things that you want to make sure that's happening. And governance, same thing. Be aware of all the different policies and IT controls that are out there. Nowadays, it's required by the government because the government is now coming at corporate America. It's not just federal and the military anymore. They're requiring us to make sure that we have things in place that will keep their networks, actually, which we'll go in the next slide.
Which is part of the supply chain.
Yes, a part of the supply chain. You are a part of the supply chain. So then we have a real threat right here and now, COVID. The last couple of years we've had COVID here. And a lot of people, we were worried about being sick, but something being retired military that stayed on our mind was our country being attacked big time, in a cybersecurity way, because so many people were sick and out of work. And I kept thinking about the fact that, man, all of our businesses right now, the first thing that's not going to be happening is we're not going to be monitoring for that cyber threat that's out there. And look at the threats that just Just that Texas with their grid, was taken down. Yeah. Ohio, just the different things that happened during COVID. Guarantee you that there were people that were not at their station that probably were supposed to be there, and no fault to the government, no fault to anyone, because so many people were out sick from COVID. But COVID is a real threat. So just knowing that you have to be aware that whoever you've hired to monitor your network, they need to be reporting and telling you that it's a possibility that your network, I'm not able to monitor it the way that I usually monitor. You got to stay in touch with these people to make sure they're sharing with you what they're doing to make sure that your network is safe. If they have lost half of their staff, okay, can you please explain to me what you're going to do to ensure that my network is still secure? So as a CEO, CFO, CIO, ensure that you stay in touch with those third parties that are managing your network. And inside your own business, if you know you've lost half of your staff, then you need to make sure that you're probably doubling up a few different collateral duties on people to make sure that they're also still monitoring the network.
I agree, definitely. COVID is definitely something that's really turned people around. A lot of people that beforehand, case in point, we were one of those people. We had to make pivoting moves and made some types of changes because of COVID. We were training in the building and we were bringing people into the building. But when COVID hit, we had to adjust and make changes, which required us to have support for more cyber. So we had to go from a physical presence to an online presence. Yes. And obviously with that online presence gives us more of an opportunity to be vulnerable to threat actors that are out there that are looking to try to exploit or cause confusion with our connections and things like that. So COVID really kind of changed things for a lot of people. And again,
working from home.
Yeah, working from home.
Trusting people on their own personal computers.
That was another.
Logging into your network. Sure. My goodness.
Yeah.
Do they have virus scans on the computer?
Are they computer secure?
Yes. Are they sharing them with the kids? And the kids are hacking.
Do you have a secure connection as well?
Yes, definitely. It was so much that we were having to trust our people and our employees with. Of course, not us, because we actually have laptops that we issue out to our employees for this purpose. But there are a lot of companies just can't afford to do that. And so you have to make sure that you have the money available to ensure that you're providing your staff with, at least, if nothing else, the virus scan, purchasing and paying for a virus scan to be on the computer that they're using to connect to your network.
Absolutely.
And we'll just touch base on this a little bit. If any of you are doing work with the federal government, this is hot and heavy right now. Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, the CMMC. It's kind of taken over the NIST part. It's where the NIST was self-assessment on your network. Well, now the CMMC, they're going to come in and audit you. If you're doing any work, absolutely any work with the federal government, contracting, subcontractor, you have to go through these standards and ensure that you are following the practices and that your network is as secure as these practices say. They have the different levels. The level 1 is what's required right now, basic cyber hygiene, but soon they're going to be going up to 2, 3, 4, and 5, depending on what you're doing with the federal government. And they will shut you down and cancel your contract if they find that you're not meeting those requirements there. So you can go online and look deeper into CMMC. If you plan on you're graduating and you want to go into cybersecurity, this would be the perfect thing for Norfolk State University right now. If you got any sense here, these kids, pass that to the kids that are in the cybersecurity department. If you want your own business and you want something hot and heavy, it's going to make you some money, become an auditor doing this CMMC and helping companies and smaller businesses get this set up within its business. We had a company come to us and once charged us $75,000
to perform these,
to get us to level 3 standard, $75,000. So you guys, we're one company. So I would just suggest that with Norfolk State University, that talking to your cyber department in regards to maybe helping these kids, and they can come over and talk with us as well. Helping these kids with something like this as entrepreneurs. Yes, definitely give them that awareness, because we do have a skill crisis, as it says here. 57. What do you say? We have a downward trend of 57%. It's crazy. We had NASA come and speak with our cybersecurity kids, at our academy down in Florida. And the lady said, well, there's going to be it was a ridiculous number.
2 million.
Yeah, 28 million.
28 million jobs by 2012.
22.
I mean,
2022. We're at 21. So I was like, well, maybe she has a misprint. No, she actually said it and then showed us the video.
Yeah.
That's because they're expecting every business in this country and around the world to have cybersecurity involved. But we are struggling in our country alone. You can get a job if you can be a help desk coordinator. We've been training, helping people out in our churches and our friends at no cost. That's our way of giving back, helping them get their Security Plus, and they're going to get jobs for $60,000 and $75,000, $80,000 where they were in one trade, and we help them to pivot to another trade. Just because it's that short on short on professionals in cybersecurity, and there's so many jobs in cybersecurity out there. So please make sure those kids in your cyber department understand that every one of them will get a job. All they need to do is get their associates and bachelors, and some of these certifications, university and industry standard professionals. We have you guys are professionals, Norfolk State University.
Yes.
Behold, the green and gold. I meant to wear my green shirt, but I didn't pack it. I'm so sorry, y'all. Wanted to represent for you. EC Council, they do certified ethical hacking, teach ethical hacking, CompTIA, major. Those two right there guarantee federal government jobs for your students. ISACA is a higher level, SANS and Microsoft, those are our higher level type certifications as well. But just looking out and going after some of these certifications along with your bachelor's degree program and associate's degree programs, these kids are guaranteed. I mean, they can take that to the bank, right?
Right.
There's no one should finish school and not have a job. And you guys should be able to point them in the right direction, especially if they get their Security Plus. There are 1 billion federal government jobs waiting for them.
That's the gateway certification into the federal government is Security Plus.
Yes.
One of the things I did want to share real quickly is that when we were doing a cyber conference, we had a security professional who happens to be a well-renowned ethical hacker around the world. I think he's ranked 8th around the world as one of the well-known ethical hackers. His name is Chris Roberts. And that was one of the things that he highlighted when he was speaking to our children, that he wants to see more diversity.
Yes.
He wants to see more people besides people that look like him. And he happened to be a Caucasian, white, older man.
Bald head, tattoos everywhere, and a long beard.
He said that we need to see more younger and more diverse people in this industry. And it's really not that hard. A lot of the stuff that you need to know is available to you via Norfolk State University and training organizations just like that. So we know that this is a big area in need right now.
Definitely. And Ricardo spoke earlier about the purpose of backups. We definitely need backups. So if you get hacked or your network crashes or those bots take you down, or ransomware, am I able to back up to where I left off? So you definitely want to make sure that even in your own little personal computer, you can have a little old USB, stick it in there and download all your documents and everything. Just make sure that you have some sort of backup in place so that you're not starting from ground zero if you happen to lose everything. And here, Tim Cook, who is Tim Cook, Mr. Frost?
The CEO of Apple.
He said, in the world of cybersecurity, the last thing you want is to have a target painted on you, and I added, or your business.
And I want to just say this, and Kimberly, you can finish out from there, but I do want to say this. Remember that if you're an entrepreneur or you have a business, the one thing that's irreplaceable is your reputation. Once your reputation has been tarnished or has been affected, it's going to be very hard to regain that type of reputation for people to trust you again. So this is one of the things that we want to share with you all, that if you lose that data, your reputation as a business and a company and an organization will be affected in a negative way.
Most definitely. And let's see, I wanted to show you guys this last video here, and then we'll do questions.
Thank you.
Very
Chris
important.
Krebs, now former director of cybersecurity and infrastructure at the Security Agency. Chris, thank you. The reporting is this is on the company. A known flaw with an available patch that the company didn't make. So here we are. How vulnerable are we?
Well, I haven't heard that part yet. As I understand it, the investigation is still ongoing. But there's no question that every organization out there could probably do at least a little bit better on their security of their systems. But let's also be very clear here that this is a criminal enterprise that DarkSide and many others
Kimberly,
are part
we
of.
can't see the
And
video.
they have not meaningful consequences, and that needs to change. And I've got a lot of confidence that what you heard out of Ann Neuberger, the Deputy National Security Advisor today, and that the Biden administration.
Well, maybe we can send the video out to everyone, or if we can give it to you and you can send it out. But it's a very good video about businesses when it comes to cybersecurity and cybersecurity crimes. I hate that we weren't able to show that there, but that was the end. We have a question and answer time for anyone that had questions that they wanted to ask. I know we're on the last 10 minutes or so.
All right. So yes, we did have one question. Let me get back to it.
Okay.
There we go. All right. From Dr. Rhonda, her question is, how effective are commercial antivirus programs for computers and mobile devices?
Commercial antivirus programs are very effective. What I would suggest to Dr. Rhonda is that she does a research. It's easy to find out. Just Google the top 10 software devices or antivirus software that's out there. And typically, whenever you Google that and you get those responses back, those are pretty accurate. For myself, personally, I use Bitdefender for me and my family. So Bitdefender is probably one of the top ranking antivirus softwares that are out there on the market today.
And just be mindful once you download these and set them up on your computer that you don't lock it down so hard that you can't do anything on your computer.
All right. I think that was the only question that we had. If anyone else has any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat right now. I'll give it everyone a minute.
Yes, well, we definitely thank you all for allowing us to be here, and we'll, as we wait on a few other questions. But like Ricardo was just sharing, for us to make sure that we are vigilant as business owners, as entrepreneurs. Thank you for putting the website in there. As entrepreneurs, to ensure that we're securing that data of our customers. That's the most important thing. I think that if nothing else today is to know that you are ultimately responsible for all of the information that you gather when it comes to your customers, when it comes to your business and your employers, and you're also ultimately responsible for what your employees do. And these days, you definitely have to be mindful of what your employees are doing when it comes to cyber threats, because one of the number one cyber concerns that's out there for us is insider threats. The insider threat is normally the person that you've had to let go. They've gotten upset with you. They were your cybersecurity person, and they come back in and can destroy your company. And you'll never know it because they've been gone for a month and they've set off some type of logic bomb or something that's going to affect your system a month later. Just knowing that those things, they happen all the time. Do you have it? Can you talk a little bit? One more. Securing our websites. Oh, that was you.
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. We do have another question. So another question is, can you talk a little bit about securing our websites?
Yeah, I can. When it comes to securing your websites, you have to make sure you understand who you're using to create your websites. Again, another opportunity to vet those different types of, you have a lot of organizations out there that create and give you templates to create websites. And a lot of times with those templates don't include a lot of cybersecurity methodology or a lot of cybersecurity actions that need to be taken. Not saying that the website is not configured for cybersecurity protections, but a lot of times those protections are not being configured for that particular website. So again, you need to vet those companies that you're using and ask those companies whether you have to use a phone call or send it through a chat to figure out what their cybersecurity protections are, and do they value cybersecurity as they're sending these products out to the world to see.
It's that third party, that supply chain that we were talking about earlier, when you have someone else that's ultimately it's your website, but you're using Wix to put your website out there.
Mhm.
So at the moment, you're trusting that Wix is doing their cybersecurity, due diligence to ensure that your website is secure and not doing anything or not able to be hacked. I mean, you need to really definitely engage them, and people respect that when you're going to them as a third party and you start asking them type questions, they love it and they'll answer those questions and tell you what they're doing. It's when you catch those people off guard, you should start getting a little concerned about, do I want to utilize that platform?
Right.
How secure is it really?
Right.
I've heard people say they have insurance, so they're not really worried because they have insurance for cybersecurity, terrorism threats, and different things of that nature. That has absolutely nothing to do with your reputation, because the third party may have made the boo-boo, but it's going to be RFK Solutionz exactly. That's who's going to get the black eye. They're not going to say, well, RFK Solutionz was using Wix and Wix did this. Yeah, Wix, they're going to get a slap on the hand, but RFK Solutionz may be put out of business.
Right.
Because we're not able to recover because we don't have that kind of marketing and resources to go out there and really fight back and pump our name back up. So just remember those little things, that the third party person, insurance is nice to have to pay in case you get sued, but also remember that just doing your due diligence to make sure that everything that can be done on your end is done. And we're not saying all of this to try to scare anyone or anything of that nature, because we know it's costly. But you still have to just add that to your budget. And you can, and some people like RFK, I mean, we don't do a lot of consulting. We're really picky with who we do that for, but we don't do it to get rich, I must say.
We definitely use it as a service to help, somebody
other small businesses. Now, if it's $1 million business, we're going to charge them, but other small businesses, it's just who we are. We try to help other businesses stay out of trouble. And so any of you, if you already feel just in this conversation, and he may get me for it, but just even in this conversation, if you're a small business and you're finding that you may have some holes in some different areas and you need someone to speak with, be our guest and give us a call. We're out of the office until around the 15th of September, of course, because we're traveling right now. But we're definitely willing to help you get your stuff in order if need be.
All right, so we have one more question. I think she meant, what are some reputable websites with great cybersecurity?
RFKSolutions.com. That's the best one out right now.
Yeah, but I tell you, when it comes to these websites, reputable websites, I mean, I can't tell you off the top of my head, but what I can tell you is that if you do some research with that same question within your Facebook,
yes.
Within Google, they'll tell you. I mean, a lot of those websites have already been researched, and a lot of those websites have already been vetted to see, if they're doing their due diligence. What Kimberly talked about earlier when it came to the CMMC. When it comes to websites, these websites have responsibilities as far as security controls that are being monitored by other organizations as well.
Mm-hmm. Semantics,
yeah,
CMMC, NIST. There's one, I wish I had brought it up, that I actually just joined here recently. It's all women in cyber. I know it's probably some men on here, but this one is all women in cyber. And I went to a big conference. Man, I wish I had I'll send that over to Ms. Richardson to put out. But that was another amazing one that you want to be a part of. You're all small business, and it's all women-owned small businesses. And they were there to help women in business protect their small businesses. But I'll make sure to send that over. I don't know where. It usually just pops up all the time on my phone. Is there anything else, ma'am?
Nope, that was the last question. And we have about a minute left. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to both Mr. and Mrs. Frost for taking the time to present this very important information. If you would like to contact our guest speakers, I've placed their contact information in the chat. Also, the links to contact the Innovation Center are at the beginning and at the end of the chat as well. This presentation will be available on our YouTube channel on Friday for everyone to view. And again, thank you all for attending, and everyone have a good day.
All right. Thank you again. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Definitely.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.